So, the crocodile has finally come to eat their own, and cancel culture has so unexpectedly escaped the control of the progressive echo chambers from whence it was hatched, and has been weaponized to a frenzy ideological cacophony, and it is now turning on its creators. The spiraling politics of the progressive left. And you know what? I really don't even like that term to describe these people anymore. So for at least the purposes of this video, I'm going to call them the alkalites of woke. And that woke comes with a capital W. Well, they now have, like a cult, over the past couple of years now, been pushing their increasingly narrow, viciously crazed, and hostile worldview to new and ever wider extremes. We've seen time after time and example after example of the woke eating their own for the slightest of deviations from dogmatic beliefs and even a hint of individual thinking. And now it would appear that the end times have arrived with the takedown of one of their greatest generals, a high priest of the movement, a demigod, if you will. And it lays bare for all to see, of course, not only the zealotry and fanaticism of the followers of woke, but also the sheer reality that the West, for all intents and purposes, is now locked within a cultural civil war between the new secular religion of woke and its followers and everyone else. So, for those of you that aren't familiar, there is a YouTuber that goes by the name ContraPoints. And to be honest, I've not watched much of the content produced on that channel. I've watched more takedowns by others of the material produced there, as it's basically pretty hard to get through. I feel like I lose about 10 IQ points per minute. But that doesn't really matter. Briefly, ContraPoints is a male to female transgender YouTuber. And I'm not sure how far along ContraPoints is on the journey to gender reassignment, whether just wearing dresses and nail polish or having had sex reassignment surgery. That doesn't really matter. To be concise, ContraPoints has been, for at least the last year, I think, the de facto leader of woke politics online. The channel and its creator have been hailed as heroes for the so-called de-radicalization of young men. While I've seen no actual proof of this, that doesn't really matter anyways either, as they claim to be de-radicalizing young men from the right, and they're also able to enroll these same men as eager participants and new members in the Church of Woke. I will leave a video link in the description to a video made by Sargon of Akkad for those that want a longer and more explanatory video on who ContraPoints is and the current feeding frenzy by the Church of Woke on their former prophet. To put it briefly, ContraPoints has recently deleted their Twitter account after having been attacked not by the far right, not by the centrists, but by other members of the LGBT community for their sacrilegious crimes against the dogma of woke. Now, to be clear, ContraPoints is a transgender person, but ContraPoints was relentlessly castigated by the very same community that they have been leading for quite some time. The reason for this was a series of tweets that many in the LGBTQ community felt were broadly anti-trans in view, and specifically they charged ContraPoints with hating non-binary people. So in the ensuing drama, ContraPoints, now being said to be a hater of non-binary people, deleted their Twitter account, and there was many non-binary people in that community cheering the downfall of what was basically their greatest voice and advocate. Like Jordan Peterson, it would seem that ContraPoints hasn't been an organic blossoming of an internet personality, but has been pushed hard both by online publications as well as the mainstream media, and given what seems to be social media algorithm boosts that help at places like Twitter and more so at YouTube. Now, I think there is an inkling under the cultural zeitgeist in the West today, and a realization that is beginning to emerge and dawn on many people. And this particular drama with ContraPoints kind of exemplifies what is emerging in the post-Christian West, and it is exampled very readily by the adherents of woke that this is simply not a political position that we are looking at, or it is an emerging new substitute religion with all the character, practices, and accoutrements of one.
We need to kill all men. I am sick of being a baby factory that produces more men that will just, in the future, subjugate me. So the only answer to that is to kill male babies and just kill any man that you see, like in the streets, like any swinging dick. Just kill him.
Donald J. Trump is now President of the United States. President Obama is the ex-president. And Mr. Trump, for the moment, steps away for the inaugural address.
Nature abhors a vacuum, and it will be filled. With the abandonment of Christianity by large swaths of the Western populace and the moral foundations that it provided, a new moral superstructure with codes of conduct, the righteous and evil, as well as infidels and blasphemers, and a fundamental hierarchy is emerging, complete with followers, acolytes, priests, and priestesses, and they have just now eaten their very own Pope, ContraPoints, for the sacrilege against the dogma of the Church of Woke. And to be clear, this is a new religion of sorts. It has all of the fanaticism and zealotry of those that believe they're not only right, but better, more principled, more righteous people than others for their dogmatic beliefs. Any deviant thoughts that do not comport with whatever is the consensus of virtue at any given moment in the religion of woke is now seen as hate. In fact, just recently, perhaps in just the last year, there is now the lament coming out of these circles that words can be a form of violence. Thus, anything and anyone that disagrees with woke is a hater uttering hate, and thus they have their blasphemers like ContraPoints and their infidels like me, Black Pigeon. The fanaticism and inability to be flexible about any aspect of woke, and the purity spiraling and extreme signaling of ever-increased levels of virtue is the unifying dogma in this new church. The central tenets of faith revolve around gender fluidity, privilege, oppression, and victimhood, as well as personal pronouns, among other things. There are factions, or denominations if you will, that argue over the centrality and meaning of core beliefs of the Church of Woke, as is the case between trans-exclusionary radical feminists, or TERFs, and non-binary activists. There is an entirely new vocabulary to describe the faith of woke, such words as appropriation, cis, supremacy, intersectional, dog whistles, radicalization, and in this sense it means people that aren't woke, microaggressions, a safe space, among many, many, many others. They've got their converts in the form of people, acolytes such as ContraPoints has supposedly brought over from the right to woke. Those that grow out of, for whatever reason, the politics of woke are the apostates, and those that have never agreed with woke are not only its infidels, but are believed and consistently called bad people, and even more regularly, evil. Its priestly class is made up of blue checked-marked activists, celebrities, academics in the humanities, as well as social influencers, and many in the mainstream media. Now, much of this is very easy to understand. There is, as stated at the beginning of this presentation, a massive vacuum that Christianity has left behind, as many people have turned their back on organized religion. The problem is, we are hardwired as a species for religion. Every society in human history has been one with religion at its core. It doesn't matter whether it be hunter-gatherers to spacefaring societies like the United States all the way up to the 1970s or 80s. Religion is something that seems to be hardwired in our DNA. And historically, cultures that lose their religion don't last long, and the vacuum will be filled by something. Now, whether it be the Church of Woke or something else far more malevolent, this new religion, like many that have come before it, is now in the process of attempting to rip down and destroy every stable institution of society currently. And like new religions, it rejects the morals, tenets, and beliefs of that which came before it, as well as the civilization that created it. This is simply no longer a cultural war, as many call it in the mainstream as well as alternative media. This is the rise of a new secular religion and, for lack of a better descriptive, holy war for the spirit of Western civilization. People like ContraPoints are not only a product of this new Church of Woke, but they are a product of the spiritualist society that is the husk that remains of Western civilization. While even though being a bishop or even a cardinal or pope, if you will, of this new religion, this is not enough to be above sanction for blasphemy, and thus ContraPoints has been denounced by his fellow practitioners and excommunicated for heresy. Or in the words of the Church of Woke, ContraPoints, unironically, has been cancelled in the name of inclusion. Thanks for watching. If you like this kind of material, please consider subscribing. Also hit the alert bell to be notified when new material is uploaded. That barely ever works, as I've been told by thousands of people, but give it a try. New material will be coming soon, and I thank you again for taking the time to watch thus far. Bye-bye.